was first just a dream has become a frightening reality for those who may oppose us.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
What's up, guys? Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my Ahsoka Episode 6 breakdown video. We are going to be going over a number of the Easter eggs, things that you guys might have missed throughout the episode, as well as references. Of course, I'll also have a number of theories throughout the video, so stay tuned for that. And if it wasn't clear from the get-go, yes, clearly there are spoilers ahead for Ahsoka Episode 6, but my non-spoiler review to that is that it was absolutely incredible. Seriously, each episode of this show just seems to get better and better, or are just all like really great, as each of them completely blow it out of the park. So picking up after the events of Episode 5, The Shadow Warrior, Episode 6 opens with Ahsoka and Huyang riding inside the Purrgil in an attempt to follow Baylan Skoll. Morgan Elsbeth and Shin Hati have taken Ahsoka's Padawan, Sabine Wren. Ahsoka muses on the stories of the Purrgil Huyang told the younglings before, and he asks for a story. Ahsoka shares that Sabine went willingly with the enemy as she had felt it through the Force. Ahsoka feels guilty that she didn't prepare Sabine better to make this choice. Huyang offers a perspective that maybe to Sabine that was the only choice that she felt like that she could have made. As Huyang begins a story, the title card for the episode comes up, saying Part 6, Far, Far Away. Shifting to Sabine, she's now in a prison cell on the enemy ship. Baylan checks in on her, but leaves her in the cell. Sabine takes this as him going back on their deal for her to see Ezra once again. Baylan tells the other baddies on the bridge that he believes that she can still be of use to find Ezra once again. Then coming out of hyperspace, they arrive in this other galaxy at Peridea. Morgan Elsbeth says that it's the ancient homeworld of the Dathomirians. The Night Sisters were supposedly first to ride the Purrgil to this known galaxy. Baylan Skoll adds that Purrgil came here to die, and it's a space whale graveyard, as we see around the planet's rings are made up of giant skeletons. They pick up a beacon from the planet's surface and check it out, bringing Sabine along with them, of course. Breaking through the clouds, they find ancient ruins of civilizations from a bygone era and fly until they see a tall structure built into a mountain. Landing there, greeted by a group of Night Sisters on an ancient ruin. They welcome Morgan Elsbeth and say that they told her and Thrawn about each other and how they are pretty much all arriving here very shortly. The Night Sisters then notice Sabine, calling her a Jedi. They're able to sense it or sniff it out. They reveal 3 orbs that circle Sabine and drag her into a building, leaving her once again captured and in a cell. Shin Hati notices Baylan's unease, and he says they're basically living a legend. This planet was folktale told in the Jedi Temple. Baylan tells her about how the Jedi fell and how it's affected him as a person. Groups rise and fall, and power rises and falls. Shin Hati, though, however, wonders if it's their time for power, but Baylan says it's fleeting. He sees the beginning to bring the cycle to an end much rather than continuing on the cycle. In her new jail cell, Sabine tries to work her way out of an escape. She focuses and tries to use the Force, but for a moment, it almost seems like it works. Until she realizes it's the rumbling around her as the arrival of the Chimeria, the Grand Admiral Thrawn's ship, pulling up to meet them. There are rows of what are called night troopers lined and waiting, with their leader in a gold mask named Anarch. Of course, I have many theories on these troopers and Grand Admiral's army here. Many believe all of these troops to actually be zombies, or dead, and then brought back to life with Night Sister magic, which is a very prominent idea and theory, and is something that very well could be the case. Especially with seeing some of that foreshadowing of Marrok, the Inquisitor, being essentially a zombie. He was simply alive because of Night Sister magic, and well, I believe the same could be the case for these troopers, this Grand Admiral's army. And so, as we see in the midst of them, strolling to greet the bad guys is Thrawn himself, arriving into live action. He thanks the Night Sister witches and Morgan Elsbeth. Anak, his right-hand man, prepares to move cargo from one ship to another, something Morgan Elsbeth notes will take up to 3 days, in which we have plenty of theories for that as well, especially towards the end of the episode, which we will get to in just a moment, of course, we see the troopers moving what seems and appears to be caskets. Of course, adding on to this idea of this undead army. The Night Sisters from there bring up Sabine, which is Baylan's time to slide in and introduce himself to the Grand Admiral. Thrawn is aware of Baylan's name, but is even more aware of who Sabine is, of course. He welcomes Sabine's use as a prisoner with a smile on his face. The two of them, of course, know each other from the events of the Star Wars Rebels animated show, but it's also interesting to know and see that, well, Thrawn knows of Baylan, and especially as his time during the Clone Wars as a Jedi General. I absolutely loved how this episode gave us a little bit more insights and explanation, bluer, to Baylan and his past, and where his future may lie within the future of the Mandoverse and the overall franchise. Sabine is brought before Thrawn. Sabine is quite blunt with Thrawn though, however, despite his willingness to help Baylan honor his agreement with the Mandalorian. Apparently, Ezra isn't there anymore, as he, at some point, had parted ways. Thrawn agrees to provide her with his last known whereabouts and warns her that once their ship leaves, she will be stranded there and that Ezra might even be dead. I had mentioned this in my initial thoughts or reaction video here on the channel, as well as into the regards of Thrawn. Thrawn doesn't really care all that much of Ezra. He doesn't believe that Ezra poses a threat, well, not at least anymore, and that he doesn't even know or seemingly cares as of to his whereabouts. This episode not only reintroduces Thrawn into the Star Wars canon, but also bringing him into live action in a whole new era. They are very prominent on the idea of that this is a mastermind tactician in warfare, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He explains many of his methods and his overall thinking to Morgan Elsbeth, sending Sabine off on their way, and doing the same for Baylan Skoll and his apprentice Shin-Hati to follow through with Sabine and to find Ezra as well, simply saying that, well, they can go do what they want, let's just disregard them, they don't really matter all that much in the end, they won't be any trouble for us. Sabine once again dons her Mando armor, is given a fuzzy wolf-like creature called a Howler, and gets a warning from Enoch, the Thrawn's right-hand man. There are nomads on this planet, and they will kill her. They're essentially like the sand people of this universe, Peridea, giving her back her weapons, including her lightsaber, and she rides out. The baddies watch her go on, and Thrawn tells Baylan and Shin to follow Sabine, as I had mentioned. They will honor Sabine, finding Ezra, and when she does, Baylan and Shin are then to destroy Sabine and Ezra. Out of the wilderness, Sabine is ambushed by those nomad bandits that she was warned of earlier. They've messed with the wrong target though, as she showed off her flashy Mandalorian and Jedi lightsaber fighting abilities to scare them off and defeat them. She continues on foot, with Shin and Baylan in pursuit without her mount, which was frightened off in the fight, but he'll be back around. Thrawn commands Enoch to send 2 attack squads to assist with Baylan in his attack. He says that their goal is to escape, and Thrawn is willing to leave Ezra anyway, Sabine, Baylan, and Shin as well, behind in the process if necessary, as I had mentioned, simply disregarding them. They're not all that important and don't really pose a threat to him. Sabine finds her mount once again, who she's miffed at, but the loyal wolf creature follows and warms up to her once again. She trusts the Howler to guide her, letting it take the lead. Of course, I just love that fuzzy relationship between a creature and Sabine, of course. And even how it picks up the scent of a crab-like creature in a little suit called a Nodi, but it speaks an alien language, one that we've never heard of or have seen in the Star Wars universe. But then this Nodi creature recognizes the rebellion symbol on Sabine's Mando armor. The Nodi is also wearing the symbol, the same one, which of course shouldn't and wouldn't be possible unless Ezra Bridger had gave it to him. Other Nodi creatures pop up around, gathering together to converse with one another. The Nodi know of Ezra and decide to lead her and her Howler to him, seeing and noting that she appears to be a friend of Ezra. Baylan and Hati still follow her trail though, however, and Shin wonders if she was trained like Ezra, and Baylan says and replies with that he has trained her to become more than just a Jedi. Shin worries about staying on the planet and wants to flee, get out of there. However, something is calling to Baylan amid all of this. They spot a group of bandits and decide to team up with them, presumably. It's also in the scene that I absolutely love, because not only do we have a reveal of that Baylan senses something that's more out there, and it also may confirm a theory of that Thrawn seems to want to get out of there. Of course, he spent roughly the last 8 to 10 years there at this point in the Star Wars canon, and he's a bit fed up with maybe being there, but he also appears to be afraid of something, and I have plenty of theories on that I'll discuss a little bit later. I also love this theme because Baylan mentions a Clone Wars quote of "the enemy of my enemy is my friend," presumably showing us that Baylan and Shin have a plan to maybe pair up with these bandits. And as I had kind of mentioned on a little bit earlier, I don't believe these bandits to be a main threat to Thrawn. If for anything, as I had mentioned, they're similar to just Sand People or the Tusken Raiders that we see in the main Star Wars universe. Okay, let's get to it. Back with Sabine, the little Nodi leads her and her Howler to their village. She passes among their people, who are kind enough to even offer her food, and we even see one of them constructing seemingly what appears to be a lightsaber. Then a familiar voice pops up and says, "I knew I could count on you." There is the one and only legendary glorious Ezra Bridger, finally found and sporting a glorious beard. The two friends of course banter before embracing each other tightly. They hold off on to catch up with questions for a little bit later, as the Nodi must pack up, as they seem to be nomads, never staying in one spot for too long, as that can be dangerous. Iman Estefani is the perfect casting for Ezra Bridger in live action, and for the whole 5 minutes that we got him in this episode, he was spot frickin' on. You can tell this guy really followed through with his work. I'm so excited to see more of him. The well wishes aren't long though, however, unfortunately, as Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth meet with the what seemingly are being referred to as the Great Night Sister Mothers, who warn of Ahsoka, who is coming. Thrawn isn't too happy with Morgan Elsbeth, who thought Ahsoka had died. Thrawn wants to know everything Morgan knows about Ahsoka to prepare for her, also mentioning that if any Purgle approaches the planet, he wants Morgan's Eye of Sion to destroy it. And from there, we see Thrawn turn once again to the Night Sisters as they have work to attend to. Now, remember that theory that I had mentioned closer on to the beginning of this video of that how we see caskets? We see it now, the caskets that the troops are bringing in. This has to be, well, caskets for one thing, an undead army that Thrawn is reconstructing, bringing back to life with the help of the Night Sisters. I love how this episode ends with a sense of airiness, and that it seems that Thrawn has the upper hand. A looming, deepening danger is what Thrawn and his army are posing and giving us now. Like, we feel like our heroes are quite outmatched. Thrawn has a whole army, and there's just a simple crew of the Ghost Crew that's left over, and they're not even all here yet. If and when this army comes to the in-universe normal Star Wars galaxy that we see in canon, of course, the New Republic is going to have to do something about it, and I believe that's where this whole war can really construct and break out from there. However, I have a theory that what if Thrawn is worried of another army, one that is bigger and more powerful and on their way themselves to take over the Star Wars galaxy that we already know of, the main galaxy, let's refer to it as that. Many of you guys have theorized in the comment section down below of the Grisk. That's how I believe it's pronounced. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments down below, of course, but this army is from the Thrawn novels, I believe. If I'm also wrong about that, please let me know in the comments down below. But this Grisk army is apparently coming, and they're coming into canon, and they're coming to take over the in-universe main Star Wars galaxy. And if for anything, Thrawn doesn't want to pose a threat of power to the New Republic as the new pre-established power there, he may not also know the fall of the Empire at the same time, which was an interesting idea to think about, and I'm very curious to see how that unfolds. Although I do believe that he does know the fall of the Empire because he's been in contact with Morgan Elsbeth and the Night Sisters and other people from the other main galaxy. Much rather though, however, of having power hungry for wanting to take over the New Republic and defeat them, he's going to want to team up with the New Republic, if for anything. However, I believe that the New Republic is going to be selfish and turn away from Thrawn and his army and want to fight them, picking the fight from there. It's all theory, it's all speculation, that's why we're here, that's why we're talking about this. Of course, guys, I'll be discussing more of this in separate future videos here on the channel in more depth and in more detail, but this here has been Ahsoka Episode 6. Of course, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, your theories and maybe some of your explanations for what you guys thought about the episode. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.